Welcome to the Now, I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm John Reisinger.
Fan-made games are all the rage lately, and what's even more in vogue than the fan games themselves is companies taking them down, and all those swift cease and desist letters that you know are coming the second you hear about a cool fan project.
That had less than a happy ending I was expecting at the end there.
Yeah, sorry.
So that's led to one YouTuber taking it upon himself to give fan-made game creators some advice about how to navigate these tricky waters.
Helpful, very helpful.
Yeah, only it didn't go so well, because now he's being shot down by an attorney who says the video is dangerous and should be removed from YouTube.
Okay.
It's dangerous.
Well, that certainly backfired. So now we've got a whole big discussion about what's illegal, what's not in the world of fan content. And this time, an actual attorney, someone who knows the laws instead of guessing at them like all of the us's who just Google things like, what is a law?
Yeah.
So we've actually got someone to school everyone on the fancy way the judges work. What?
Those fancy judges.
Fancy judges.
So, how did all of this get started? This week, YouTuber Wooly Madden, aka Wooly Versus, released a video titled PSA, a message to unofficial fan game creators. In that video, Wooly gave some oft-repeated advice and something we've jokingly said ourselves as well.
Repeatedly.
Yeah, if you're going to make a fan game that rips off an intellectual property, keep your damn mouth shut and don't tell people about it.
Still, just so you know, doesn't make it legal.
That's not cool.
Just hard to contain.
That's how you do it.
In the video, Wooly says that if you're programming this tribute to something we all love and hold dear, something that we've been playing since our childhoods, that you yourself want to see a successor to, a franchise that's perhaps been ignored for a long time, that you know that deep down as a fan you can deliver something amazing that the rest of the fans would reach out to and connect with. If you're working on something like that and I already know about it, you fucking blew it, you done fucked up.
He goes on to list a bunch of examples of how this has gone poorly for creators in the past, mostly with Nintendo games. Nintendo's like that.
They DMCA'd like 500 games in one go.
That's
one
impressive.
time. Yeah.
And tells fans it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. So if you're going to go down this path and make this passion project, it's best just to lay low and only tell people about it after it's released.
Well, so yeah, okay, sounds like decent advice, right? Yeah, well, it's also worth noting that Wooly also encourages people to obey the law and focus on their own original IP rather than fan games, which is great advice. He just wanted to give his 2 cents to people who seem hell-bent on making their own Pokemon games.
But apparently all those caveats weren't enough for the infamous, right?
Not infamous, I would call him famous, because infamous implies super villainy, and I would say he's the hero that we all need.
I feel like we're in a bit from Three Amigos. Anyways, Ryan Morrison, friend of the know, better known by his online handle, the video game attorney. If you're unaware of Morrison and his work, he's been a well-respected voice in the industry, and he just shows up whenever some big legal issues are going down.
Actually, he's given us some advice in the past too, like when we got a DMCA from Sony about No Man's Sky, and we were like, right, is this? And he gave us a lot of helpful advice there.
Judges were just being fancy, weren't they?
They were so fancy.
Fucking fancy judges.
Most recently, he was very vocal about the Persona 5 streaming restrictions from Atlas, trying to let fans know that regardless what they think about fair use, they're actually totally beholden to publishers who can legally DMCA any streamer they want at any time. It sucks, but that's the law.
Yeah, so usually he's saying stuff that most gamers simply don't want to hear. And now he's at it again. In response to Wooly's video, Morrison hosted a massive legal advice Reddit AMA last night titled, "Nope, fan games can still ruin your life. Please stop believing otherwise."
Subtle. So in the thread, Morrison talked about a variety of issues related to fan-made games and fan content in general, touching on everything from how to legally make a spiritual successor, the key being to be substantially different than the inspiring work, it's substantially different enough, take Yooka-Laylee versus Banjo-Kazooie, to the legality of emulators, that being, they're generally not.
Yeah, it's kind of the rule, but most especially Morrison had very strong words about Wooly's message attitude of just release a game quietly and nobody can do anything to you once it's out, calling it extremely dangerous.
According to Morrison, the potential legal ramifications are a bigger deal than most people realize because some of these fan games end up with a lot more than a slap on the wrist, and he's actually seen that happen firsthand hand.
Morrison said, "I've seen homes lost, families broken up, and credit ruined for life. No company owes you a cease and desist, and many are more than willing to destroy you in order to stop a competing game, as is their right. The reason you never hear about it? Because those life-ruining settlements, which are better than life-ruining judgments, also come with a very strict NDA. The creators disappear into quietness and don't talk about what actually happened, but it is the height of lunacy to think that worst-case scenario is a cease and desist."
Yeah, he continued the sentiment on Twitter, where he was so direct that he actually asked for Wooly to remove the video, saying, "Please do the right thing. Wooly Wools, take that video down and explain how mistaken you were. People can get hurt."
Throughout the thread and later on Twitter, Morrison and others even spoke about how gamers who get permission from developers aren't safe either, since those developers can rescind that permission at any time without any legal repercussions.
That's actually happened before with a Metal Gear fan remake. So apparently even written documentation from a developer isn't legally binding. So he pointed out Microsoft's game content usage rules in particular as something that won't necessarily protect you from blowback from Microsoft, even though they state in the rules they're granting a limited license.
If you're thinking to yourself, what about companies like Sega, who celebrate fan games?
Yeah, what about companies like Sega that celebrate fan games?
Yeah, well, Morrison's got an answer for that, too. He wrote, "Sega does not embrace fan games. I think they did like once or tweet about it. Now they have the good guy rep. All big companies police their IP, all of them."
So naturally, Morrison got a lot of pushback from fans who felt like a lot of these copyright rules are bullshit, should be protected by fair use, and so on, to which Morrison replied that he's not the one who makes the policies and often agrees with those assessments, but the law is the law, and not liking the law doesn't make it not the law, and you can still get screwed by it because it doesn't care whether you agree with it or not.
And of course, there are others who didn't disagree with Morrison, but still felt like he was overreacting to the video and that Wooly did encourage people to follow the law, to which Morrison replied, "To be fair, he ends the video with, 'Release the game, then there's nothing they can do.' That's categorically wrong and dangerous to think." He goes on to say that releasing a free game can still cost you millions.
All right, so moral of the story is that for every bid for power, no Mario Sky, or Metroid AM2R, there are, from the sound of it, many, many more who get hit a whole lot worse and aren't allowed to talk about it, so we don't hear about it.
Yeah, they get black bagged, and considering how little people in general seem to know about this topic, it's good that there are others out there who are willing to try to educate, even if the general video game public tries to shout them down because they think they should be able to use whatever they want to make content.
All right, so keep doing the good work, video game attorney, and saving everyone from terrible legal advice from people like ourselves who think judges are fancy. And to everyone else who's thinking of doing a fan project, I mean, maybe give the legal advice a read through, but the number one thing you can do, make your own IP.
Yeah, just make your own stuff. What do you guys think of the video game attorney shutting down Wooly over his video about fan games? Do you think he's overreacting? You really shouldn't? Let us know in the comments.
And for future updates on all things legal in the world of gaming, because that's super exciting stuff, remember to like this video, and if you're new around here, subscribe to The Know.
Do it.
Do it.
I'm on a high beef and pork diet. So
okay, well, it's all beef and pork, so we gotcha.
Yeah.
We gotcha. We're gonna like crack into it and start like pulling out all the meat.
Get porked.
Hey yo.
That's the new no shirt. Get porked.
Get porked.
Let's just read,
Okay,
read
that
stuff
went-
before
that
Eddie
went-
says something else is bad.
That went somewhere weird.